Good evening. Welcome to another broadcast day for Xenu TV, serving all of Tigiak and this sector of the galaxy. I hope we have some folks here with me right now. It doesn't look like it. I haven't seen anybody come in yet, but I'll give you a little time. I will babble. That's what I'm best at. I was setting this up and did not put it with a premiere, I guess. So you folks weren't aware until just now. Love Maddie, welcome to you. Nice to see you. Holly Brew, thank you. I appreciate you being here. Poe on the go. Oh, what's that about Poe on the go? Oh, just went live. Uh-oh. Well, I can see he's going to be the bigger draw than me. So you can always come back and, but does he have a cat? That's one of my two cats making an appearance. Well, Marilyn, thank you so much about that. We're going to take a look at it tonight and talk a little bit about the background of that and opening day of the LMT. And as usual, I was thrown for a loop at the beginning of this. I thought, well, I'm just going to import my two videos and play those right here from StreamYard, but they're in MKV format. So I've got them here lined up on YouTube, and we'll share the screen and take a look then. Maddie, I'm glad you had a chance to take a look at it. It was quite a day. This was the first couple of days of January of 2000. And the LMT had just opened its doors on, I believe, January 3rd, 2000. Bob had to buy a building. Bob Minton was the man who was behind the Lisa McPherson Trust. And by the way, we were originally going to call it the Lisa McPherson Foundation, but Scientology found out about that, and they snapped up the name before Bob could get it. That's how we became the Lisa McPherson Trust. And then Scientology continued to just attack us because they're saying, that's not a trust. They're saying it's a trust. It's not a trust. No, it's an organization set up to help people who have been abused by Scientology. That's what it is. And we were not tax exempt. We did not go for a charity listing because we didn't want to have to open up the books to Scientology. We didn't want them knowing who was contributing, who was contacting us, any of these things. So the Lisa McPherson Trust, it was. And there's so much that happened before we opened the doors. Bob was trying to lease space in any place downtown Clearwater. And everywhere he went, the Scientologists were right behind him and making sure that whoever had properties was not going to lease him any property. So Bob eventually decided he would purchase a building. And that's the building that we bought at 33 North Fort Harrison, which unfortunately now is the Way to Happiness building. There was much more happiness in it when we were there in 2000 and 2001. Anne-Marie, hello. You're from Michigan? I'm a Wisconsin boy myself, so it's nice to have somebody from the Midwest there. Can you get more info from a nonprofit? Well, I'm not sure exactly what you can get, but I know your records are going to be opened. But we want to make sure that we could do everything we could to shield the people who were contacting us. So Bob bought this building, and sure enough, Scientology tried to snap it up out from under him. You'll see here in this first video, Scott Brower is the person who sold us the building. and he stuck to his word. Um, so let's just start that up, and this would be. Let me share the screen here. Oops, there we go. Um, okay, share. Oh, I guess I have to come here. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm doing it the wrong way. We're sharing already. So this is the first picket. Oh no, how am I gonna monitor you? Okay, this is not going to work. Um, because I won't be able to see your comments here while we play this. Eh, there's always something. Hi, Marcia. I'm glad you're here from Texas, ready for the show that does not appear to be happening. Let's just start her up here and let you watch this first video, and I will check your comments later. Oh, oh, always something. All right. Let me stop this right here because I just saw. So you've just been watching me this whole time? I shared the screen and you're looking at me? Oh, for God's sakes. Well, you, probably have been seeing me scrambling trying to, get onto, uh, my live stream on YouTube so I can see what you're seeing and you're seeing me. So, a lot of good that's doing. Let me, let me just shut this down. So we're not having any success today. Uh, okay. All right. So you weren't able to see any of the video. Oh boy. Well, it sure was exciting. Wish you could have been there. All right. Um, so let's just talk about this. Um, so I remember on our opening day, we had an editorial in the newspaper talking about the 800-pound gorilla in the middle of downtown that we were coming to take on like a pack of squawking parrots. So, as part of that ceremony that day, Bob gave us each a stuffed parrot. And I still have that parrot. I had it sitting in my council member's office, along with pictures of Bob and Gabe Casares, Paulette Cooper, and also 3 reporters from the Tampa Bay Times, Tracy McManus, Tom Tobin, and Joe Childs. Joe Childs and Tom Tobin were on the Scientology beat when we came to town in 2000, and they always did great work. They did the Truth Rundown series several years later, and now they're overseeing Tracy as she does her excellent work at the paper. Um, so now, can you hear me now? Are you watching me now? Because I'm seeing things here saying, check your phone. I think you saw my Facebook message. This is uh, 15, almost 16 minutes of sheer excitement of watching me sit here babbling. So I hope at least you're hearing me babble at this point. Let's see. Yes, you can hear me. Okay, thank you, corsets and curls. I thank you both. All right, you're one person. Um, Layla, thank you. Marilyn, thank you. So I'm not going to bother showing you the first picket because clearly I can't. I'm going to have to make sure that before I prepare to do one of these, that I have an MPEG format of the video and not the MKV file that StreamYard does not accept. So otherwise, oh man, this would have been the first polished professional broadcast from the headquarters of Xenu TV. So we have a shot at doing that again, having that first professional broadcast. And who knows when that's going to hit? Maybe tomorrow night, maybe not. Um, then we had after. Oh, by the way, the I was talking about the paper and the editorial about the parrots. They did an article about the opening day of the LMT, and I believe it was Tom Tobin who was there at the LMT office as we got the place opened. And there was an Italian restaurant 2 doors down that brought over some wine and bruschetta for us for the opening, and that was mentioned by, Tom in the, St. Pete Time article, and man, that restaurant found out, what it's like to be kind to the LMT because Scientology forbid their members to, dine there anymore, just because they were nice enough to say hello and welcome to the neighborhood. A very different welcome than Scientology gave us. We, we had, also a visit from the Chamber of Commerce, and they came by to, welcome us to the chamber. We gave them a check, I believe it was for $60, for our membership. They gave us a, little, uh, plaque, um, kind of a transparent little thing saying, "Hey, you're a member of the chamber. Congratulations!" And each one of us who worked there got our own personal membership card to the Chamber of Commerce. And then we didn't pay much attention to that until a year later, when there was some sort of probably something to do with the city council members at that point having a meeting in the Fort Harrison Hotel to talk about some issue, and there was an injunction against us, but I thought, "Hell, we're members of the Chamber of Commerce. This is a chamber event. We should be able to go to this." So I bought us a couple tickets, one for me and one for Jeff Jacobson, who was our, librarian at the LMT at the time, and, we were, told in, very harsh terms that, "No, we're not welcome." And they then had to admit, um, "You know, we never cashed your check, so you're not really members of the Chamber of Commerce." "Oh, really? And you were just too chicken blank to, let us know that. You just kind of ignored the whole thing until we decided, 'Hey, let's go to a chamber meeting at the Fort Harrison Hotel.'" And I believe I had called the police officers at the police department at that point and said, "Hey, listen, we bought tickets for this. We're members of the chamber. We wanna go, and if you wanna have an officer come and sit with us, to make sure that no problem happens, because we're not going there to create a scene. We just want to see what's going on at the meeting." And the police said, "No, don't do that. We won't let you." So, um, at least Scientology or the chamber, refunded us, uh, the price of the tickets. But that was, just another one of those wacky things about, Clearwater that was unexpected. "Really? You didn't bother cashing our checks our check, and you just wanted to keep that on the down low, even though for the full year we've had your plaque here. We have membership cards." I wish I could find mine. I don't think I have it anymore. Um, uh, Tommy's talking about, the pizza place that didn't wanna serve me pizza. Yeah, they're out of business now. It was a, Scientologist-owned, pizza parlor, and that was a live stream that I did, where, at the end of this event, I decided, "I'll pop in there. I'll just set down the camera and keep rolling and get a slice of pizza." And the guy who owned the place was perfectly fine with that. He was happy to have a customer. He ran to the back to start preparing it, and then almost instantly, a Scientology security guard came rushing in and rushed in the back by him. And suddenly the guy came out to say, we're all out of pizza." "Really? You're all out of pizza? It's 1:30 in the afternoon. You're a pizza parlor and you can't make any more pizza." And it was just insane. But that's Clearwater for you. Um, So we had our first, picket that night, and, you can watch that video by yourself because I'm not able to play it here now, but I just put that up earlier today, and, it was an interesting affair, as Bob went out with a simple message: "It's safe to look, it's safe to talk," and was holding up our phone number, and this is as all the Scientologist Sea Org members were piling off of buses going into where they used to have dinner. It used to be right between the Clearwater Bank building that Scientology owns, which is now the visitor center, and apparently, I believe it was also the headquarters of OSA. Um, I don't know if it still is, but um, eh, they would come in there. They would get off the bus, and they'd have to walk around the bus to go in. Because it was a one-way street. So the way the bus came in, it was they'd have to get in the middle of the road and walk around the bus to go in. So we had, my camera, there, videotaping them getting off the bus. Grady Ward was standing right there at the door with a sign saying it's safe to look. Um, and that was enough for Scientology to do a couple of things. They tried to convince the city to change the direction of the one-way street, and the city almost did that, without any warning to any of the businesses there, and granted, there weren't a lot of businesses there, but right at the end of Waterston Street on our block there was a nice restaurant that we used to eat at all the time, and that would have hurt their business, and so he was, livid, when he found this out. And we were able to stop this in midstream, but there's some footage that I've shot that was in the Clearwater, Scientology and the Clearwater Police video, where you see, Chief Klein and Ben Shaw from Scientology and our city manager, Mike Roberto. They're all over there by the stop sign. They were actually starting to unscrew the sign to flip it to the other side, when we caught them on camera, and they gave that up. And they never actually did change the direction of the street then, but Scientology was hoping that, they could come in so the bus could come in the other direction. Everyone could hop off the bus and run right in the door without seeing us. So that was one attempt, and then, of course, they went to, the judge who was overseeing this injunction and, said, Your Honor, it's a terrible threat." And because they had a little snippet of video of me standing, by the door there, shooting some of them getting off the bus, not creating a scene, but I took that shot of Grady Ward standing there talking to them, and they showed that to the judge, and they said, "Okay, we're adding Bunker's name to the injunction." So I was one of the first, 4 that were on the injunction. And from that, from one shot of me standing there with my camera, Scientology has tried to paint me for 25 years now, or almost 25 years, as this dangerous person. And I guess I am in some respects, but not physically. I certainly have been a threat to their livelihood here. I try whatever I can to inform people what Scientology is and what they do, and tried to inform the city for 4 years about, you know, how Miss Cabbage can't be trusted, and I'll continue to do that, but, um, and I'm surprised that there are occasionally, this video has been online, um oh boy, Drew, it's crazy how much money I've made off of Lisa McPherson, especially after you took all those donations to make a documentary, and you didn't make a documentary. Well, not yet, but the footage is still here, and I'm talking to people who will help me, get that finished. I've got a wealth of material, and you're gonna start seeing excerpts of it, on this channel. So thank you, Drew, for bringing this up. Um, I did travel around the country, interviewing, people who had been involved in the Scientology story. This is, I think, in 2011 or 2013, something like that. And I hopped in the car and, did a whole circle of the nation, stopping various places, to interview folks like, well, the Headleys. Well, no, the Headleys didn't wanna go on camera. I stopped and said hello to them, and I met some other folks who were, recently out of Scientology at their house. Um, this was in Denver, and, they told me that they know Mary DeMoss. Mary, lived in Boulder now and was working there doing, work for the environment and being an activist on that. And, they let me know at that point that Mary had left Scientology as well, um, but that she felt she was used and abused by both critics and Scientology, and she wanted nothing more to do with it. I did contact her once and get one little, message back from her in a text, um, in which she said, essentially, "I had no idea that this video would be seen all over the world and would have such a lasting impact." Um, but that's what happened. Um, it's the whole point of shooting video is to share it with people, unless you're OSA, in which case you shoot videos of critics and turn them over to the OSA people who then set up the PIs against you. Um, so I tried to have a little more exchange with Mary, but she didn't want to talk to me beyond that. I tried to make the point that, Mary, you could turn this around. If you just said 2 words on tape, just said, "I'm out." That would have been mind blowing, and it would have, made a huge difference, for her, I think. Um, but I suppose there are repercussions to that, if she would have done that. Um, and I was I was sorry to hear that she was upset about it, because I enjoyed, my encounters with Mary DeMoss. She was always, there to give it her all, and say the most amazing, insane things in front of my camera. Drew, thank you for bringing this up. And I know that I know we've got one guy who, in every single video I put up, says, I don't know if it's you with a different moniker, Drew, but one guy always says, "Still waiting for that documentary, Mark." And like, this is the most patient guy in the world. I keep telling him, Listen, it's coming. It's not dead." Um, Joel, thank you. I hear this type of thing all the time, that folks stumble upon my videos and they're helpful, and I really appreciate hearing that. Um, let me let me roll back here and see some of the stuff that you folks have been saying. I do wish all the public knew about the abuses and the evil deeds the COS has done and are still doing, and I wish the IRS would get some balls and go after them. Tax the COS, tax Scientology. Um, yes, that has to happen. And will it? It doesn't seem likely. I would talk to our city attorney about this, and he would say, "Well, if they lose their 501c, they'll just file again for a 501d." Really? You can do that? Yeah, there's all sorts of ways they can get their tax exemption back again if we strip it from them. Um, so that's not terrible, but I think it's still worth doing. I mean, they did it in Australia at least for a few years. Um, and they they don't deserve that tax exemption, of course. It is a business, where people are making commissions for bringing in a Scientologist to get 10% of everything that that person pays if they routed them in to the org. Um, and if you're getting a commission, uh, that all should that's a business. You're pushing your books, you're pushing your tapes. Um, a religiously themed business is fine. Just pay your taxes. That would up mail. Oh, you've got a lot of wonderful things ahead of you. Late to the party, and there's always replay. Thanks, WBM. Yeah. Oh, this one's a treat. You get to see me sitting here for like 8 minutes going, well, they're watching it on the screen. I guess I'll just try to pick up. Let me go to YouTube and see if I can read their comments. No, I can't see them there. Meanwhile, you're all just watching me stumbling around. So, yeah, yeah, that's going to be quite a playback. Uh, do I have StreamYard? Yes. I can switch back and check it to see if it's on screen. Yeah. No, uh, unfortunately, I tried. Um, so we had the protest, and Mike Rinder tried to have us arrested, and that was fun. Seeing how desperate he was to have this opportunity, call the police and say they're breaking the injunction. We just came from court. They know there's this injunction, and we still didn't get in trouble from it. You can see the frustration that he's going through because he's got Miscavige on his ass, uh, saying every day that he had to get rid of us. And ultimately, they did that um, uh, by taking down Bob Minton. They had a global campaign to stop Bob, and it worked. Eventually, they got his bank accounts frozen, and that scared him. And that's what caused him to say, all right, I'm out. I've had enough of this." And he was getting just as many attacks from critics as he was from Scientology. Nothing as severe from critics, but still, it hurts a lot more when your friends or people like there was one person that there was a woman whose husband um, killed himself in front of her. This is not Arnie Lerma. This happened before, and she, of course, was traumatized. And he helped her get back on her feet, put her through college, uh, and even she was joining in with the attacks on Bob. It's like, really, really, and those attacks from friends are the toughest ones. Scientology can say whatever they want. That's why it's a little painful for me to see the flame wars that are erupting now on YouTube. Um, because I think, you know, passions get too inflamed, and uh, there seems to be efforts to try to tear down and destroy. Um, and I'm sorry to see that. I try to be friends with everybody. That's just me. Hey, I hang out with David Miscavige if he wanted to invite me over. Um, I would be pressuring him to put something in the buildings, but I'd sit down with him, and I can make that offer knowing he'll never sit down with me. Cowardly little son of a gun. Um, ultimately, in the end, Bob had to, as part of getting unentangled from this, he gave them the LMT building, which is now the way to happiness. Um, Up mail, thank you. I'm glad you, appreciated that video. I always liked, putting up, video of Bob. Um, he was a good guy. And, you can see the real Bob, in both those videos, because when he's talking inside the LMT for the opening, talking with compassion, that's who he was. And then there was that devilish twinkle in his eye where he'd go out on the street and say, what was it? Protect Scientology now or save Scientology now. Dump David Miscavige. He had such joy in just being able to screw with him that way, getting a message across, really a nice message that it's safe to look, it's safe to talk, and that's something that folks have said they did see. And it did put a little implant in them that years of auditing will be needed to get rid of that. Um, it 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 was something that I believe um, I believe it was Miscavige's niece, Jenna Miscavige Hill, in her book talked about the fact that she was trying to get across the street at one point because this half-hour break that they had for lunch was the only time she could see her boyfriend. And we were out with a protest, and so Scientology kept them all behind closed doors, and they could not get across the street. And that did make her question why are why are we so frightened of these people? So I think just implanting something like that in them is a message that's worthwhile. And I have to say, good golly, Miss Molly, I assume it's Molly. Stacy Brooks was just as wonderful as well, and she was. I really loved Stacy, and I haven't talked to her in a few years, but she taught me a lot. In fact, once I get this thing down, I'm going to show you two versions of a video. I did one that's coming up shortly. It was going to the Celebrity Center um, and encountering the Scientology security guard, who I called Buddy in the video, and um, that nickname stuck with him. So from then on, he was Buddy. And Buddy came up and was standing right behind me as I was videotaping. And I took a step back and bumped into him. I said, I'm sorry, I didn't see you there. And he called the police on me and tried to have us arrested for this. And each story that he told to the officers was more and more fanciful. Um, and, it's just those type of lovable characters like Kramer, your next door neighbor who's just so eccentric and nuts that made Xenu TV a success, I think. Um, seeing seeing the Scientologists surrounding me and bull baiting me on L. Ron Hubbard Way, and then Buddy in that same period there on the 4th of July weekend. Uh, Buddy encountered me again and said, "I have a permanent limp because of you." And then started walking away from me, and I noticed, "Hey, you're not limping." And then he turned around and was started limping back toward me. "What, do I have to have a limp to?" Yeah, you do. If you say you have a permanent limp, you should have a limp. I'm just saying. Otherwise, I have a feeling you're full of it. Um, anyway, fun stuff like that is what made Xenu TV a success. And so I'm preparing all of those videos. Some of those, like Buddy, that I've converted to 4K already. One of the 3 days of the 4th of July, I have converted. I'm gonna do the other 2, and, um, and then I'm gonna rename it too because here's here's, uh here's something that really pissed me off. Uh, I made these videos before YouTube, was born, and I came onto YouTube a little late. It had been up and running for a couple of years before I started posting my videos personally. But somebody else took a bad copy of the video I shot on the 2nd of July where they're bull baiting me, surrounding me, and, they put it up online, in a really crappy quality, with a big, um, logo. I don't know if you can see that on the but just huge things saying, "Found on Cabinet." And I hate bugs to begin with, but, it was horrible, horrible quality, and, once I started putting up my own stuff, I contacted YouTube and said, "Listen, this is a copyright infringement. That's mine. I made that. I would prefer that we take that one down." And they said, "Nope, nope, not gonna do it, unless you're a business. We're not touching it." Um, and that video, on their site, in terrible quality, has been seen more than a couple million times, uh, far outpacing mine. And one of the reasons is I called mine day 1 of the 4th of July event, and he called mine "Crazy Scientology Followers," which rocketed around the world. So don't be surprised when I put these up that it's renamed "Crazy Scientology Followers." Uh, Try to, you know, take advantage of that name brand now. Um, Stacy Brooks. Yes, Stacy, was wonderful, and I was remembering something, earlier today about Stacy that, Stacy taught me a lot, and, when I mentioned I've got 2 versions of this video with Buddy, one of them, I was, like, wisecracking in it and doing stuff that took away from showing the actual absurdity that was happening. So I re-edited, and that's the one that went online. So, eventually, when I get this thing working, I'm gonna show you, the unaired alternate take of it, and I'll let you see how much better Stacy made it. Um, but Stacy also, was trained on, how to manage, uh, in Hubbard terms. And when you're in the Sea Org, that includes a lot of yelling at people. She never yelled at me, of course, and it was rare that this would happen, but there'd be times when it would be insistent. And I remember I was in her office one day, and she was on the phone, and I don't know who she was chewing out, but it was big time, and it was just, cursing and screaming at the top of her lungs, and then she hung up the phone, and we had our nice little conversation. I finished, and I left her office, and there were 2 maids that worked there at the LMT, and they saw me come out of there, and they just came over to me and said, "Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh my lord, are you okay?" Yeah, that wasn't about me, and and, uh, but it did show me how Hubbard trained people to lead. But she was, actually, really amazing and inspirational and did a great job, and there's a rift. Now, I was talking earlier about, flame wars. There became a rift big time, uh, on the board of the Lisa McPherson Trust. There were a couple of people, that were part of the board to begin with, and they made a movie, with Bob's money called The Prophet, which was supposed to be the only thing that Bob invested money in that was supposed to actually make money. And, they, uh, they had a falling out over this. And it ruined a friendship because they were as close as could be, and then they became, something else. The woman who produced the movie, made it her, mission to try to screw over Stacy every way she could, bad-mouthing Stacy to everyone who, was going to have any dealings with her, and, we'd call up and confront her on it, say, "Well, why are you saying these things?" And she'd always go, "Well, I didn't say it. No, it wasn't me. I don't know." Um, Finally, they made this movie. I got to see a rough cut of half of it at their home, um, and I could tell from the beginning it sucked, very amateurish, and, um, the script writing was horrible in it. Direction wasn't much better, and they spent $2.5 million on this movie, and this woman was, accusing Stacy of not running the LMT properly and losing money there. Meanwhile, this woman was, as a producer, blew through $2.5 million in a couple of months, and, nothing came of it. So I saw, half of the rough cut, then I actually saw the finished rough cut, and they were over and we all went over to Leipzig, Germany at one point, and they were having a screening for, the European critics of Scientology to have their chance to see the prophet before it's released, like it ever was gonna get released. So there was this, there was a screening room, where it was projected, and there was no air conditioning, it was stifling hot. I'm watching the first part of the movie, and I'm miserable, and I know there's nothing but crap from now on, so and I'm in Germany, I'd like to see Leipzig, so I got up and left in the middle of the movie and just walked around the neighborhoods for 45 minutes or so, and then came back, and when I came back to the theater, this woman producer was in the lobby, wondering why I had left. And I explained, "Well, I've seen the film and I wanted to experience some of Leipzig." And, and then we got into it. And I said to her, "Why are you being so hard on Stacy?" Um, you say all these things to people and then you say, "Well, I never said it. I never did." And she admitted to me that, yeah, she was going around smearing Stacy left and right. And I said, "Well, you should just tell her, just apologize." And she said, "Nope, she has to prove it. She has to prove something that you just told me is real." So it was that type of, who needs this? Who does? And no, and the film never was released, except they did a screening at a local theater here. We had, well, I think we still have the second run theater, kind of a dive where there are tables where you can sit down and have dinner and watch a movie. And they booked the Prophet, and I think it played there for like 2 weeks. And when I went opening night just to kind of report to Bob, that the fact that there were lines around the block for this, that people couldn't wait to see this movie about Scientology, even though the reviews had come out and they said it was horrible. And these people said, "I don't care. I want to see it." And it did fine there in Clearwater. And I went in and sat and watched it. I bought my ticket, went in, and um, they were accusing me of being there for some malicious means. But Bob was up in New Hampshire. I was here in Clearwater. I wanted to see what the crowd was like, and I went and, watched the movie and then came out and asked people, "What did you think?" And they all pretty much said, "It sucked," but they enjoyed seeing it. So, well, there's something, you know. Battlefield Earth, it's that horrible quality, maybe you can get something from it. I can't on Battlefield, um, except John Travolta doing his Betty Davis impression. There's one line as Turl where he's saying something like, um, "You, you were, learning your chops while I was out conquering the galaxy." It was like, really?" That was an insane reading. Um, so there were a few pleasures to be found in Battlefield Earth. Anyway, I'm going into this long-winded, meeting, or story rather. Hi, Area 51 Ride. How are you? Nice to see you. Was this woman Osa? No, she wasn't Osa. She was just a pain. Um, I watched The Prophet and achieved the state of perfect. Well, there you go. They have seen the film. Um, so, um, thank you, failed pessimist, for liking the Jason Begay video. Uh, let me just finish this one little story. This woman is not a con artist. She wasn't OSA. She wasn't anything like that. She just was one of these people who felt she should be in charge and she could do things better. Well, if she had made a good movie, maybe she could have proved that. But um, uh, after after I found out that this film was being made, because they kept it secret, um, Bob got a copy of the script for me to read, and I read it and I was horrified. It was so poorly written. I said, "Bob, you're gonna lose your money with it. This does not work." It was this thinly veiled, story of Hubbard, but it was so lappy. Milton Berle TV comic from the '50s. I read his, autobiography decades ago, and he was talking about how he liked his jokes to be placed right in somebody's laps. He didn't want anything that you had to think about. He wanted them to be in their laps, lappy, and that's what this film was. Um, they had, how, in real life, Hubbard, lived for a while with, Jack Parsons, in this home where they're, creating the moon child, um, and that's all depicted in the film. But they use hypnosis as the basis for all of scientific spiritualism, and he had like the Hubbard character dangling a medallion. "You're getting sleepy. You're getting sleep. A year from now, you are going to go into your lab and you are going to have an explosion." And then it screen cuts to the exterior of his lab 1 year later, and kaboom! It blows up. And it's like, what? This is horrible. And I made the point that listen, you're saying Scientology works, but from what you're showing in here, that this guy has success in um, convincing people that they're getting better. So, is that the message you want to give? Well, there's one fan. Um, but this is the last point I wanted to make about the prophet. Scientology has never sued me. I was sued once, and that was by these two people who made the movie. As in the film, uh, all the members of the Lisa McPherson Trust had little cameos, and Bob wanted me to put up those short little clips of the cameos on our website, and these folks were going ballistic over it. "No, you can't do that." And so we took them down, and Bob said, "Put them back up." And then I got served a lawsuit for having put them back online on the LMT website, at the request of the executive producer of the film who paid for the damn movie and they were going to take me to court and sue me, but there was a deal in their contract, in their LLC partnership, that no one one partner can't sue without the permission of the other. So it was just dropped. But kind of memorable that the only folks who have sued me in this entire Scientology saga have been friends. Anyway, I've babbled a lot. Um, Stacy suffered a lot of fair game for a long time. Whatever happened to her, she's doing fine. She and Bob settled in Ireland for the last years of his life, and she stuck around there for a while. I went visiting her at one point. This was after Bob died. Um, was not able to get over there before that. Um, but she actually has taken up uh, some hobbies that she's good at, including painting. I saw some of her artwork. She's talented. And, she's back in the States now, and I haven't talked to her in a couple of years, but, you know, I still love her. She's terrific. Power Lies to Paralyze. You say the Prophet is still on YouTube? That's good to know. Uh, I had a rough cut of it, and they accused me of leaking the rough cut, and I never did. Um, it was that rough cut that we used to put the clips up of the LMT cameos. But when Anonymous came around in 2008, they got a copy of it. They didn't get the rough cut. They got a final print with all the credits in it. So, you know, these producers knew that I wasn't behind it, at least. But what they did, there was a YouTube type of streaming service at that point where you could have things on a loop, and you could program whatever you wanted to broadcast in rotation. So they just put up a profit YouTube channel 24 hours a day, and good God, there were people watching it over and over and over and commenting, and I just really loved popping in there and seeing all the wisecracks about it. Anyway, um, Susan, they harassed me. Well, yeah, you know, I never had that many problems being harassed. You know, they haven't done much against me that, you know, oh sure, they had me arrested and booked and put in jail, and I had to stand trial, and they tried to have me evicted from my apartment, and they followed me with PIs. But all in all, you know, I take it all in stride. That's what I expect from Scientology. Cyberweeze, you got oh, good, you got my SP declaration. You know, I'm gonna revive, something like that for the channel, um, get the SP levels back up here again. So I've got Xenu TV branding coming for the channel, soon. And at that point, we'll have all the, kinks ironed out. Okay, well, I mean, that may take another year or 2, but anyway. Um, Love Maddie says, "Aren't, Tori and Stacy good friends?" Yeah, they became good friends, but they don't see each other because they're on different, different parts of the country. Um, Spanky, lives, right near Tori, and they're good friends. Yes, we're talking about the Prophet, but remember, the Prophet was spelled Profit. There you go. Um, so I think I think this has probably gone long enough. Certainly is not at all what I was expecting to do tonight, but I hope at least made up for not having those videos ready to go. And we'll get the bugs out of this and out of me, essentially. And we'll start having a much more professional broadcasts, like the professional that I am, for God's sakes. I'm an Emmy winner. I'm sitting here going, I can't push the button. Where's it go? I don't know. Oh, it reminded me of Red Skelton. Doo, 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 doo. Gertrude Heathcliff, to Figo. I loved Red Skelton. And I used to do that when I was on stage. Before going on stage, I'd always do this in the wings, just so I'd have fun. Did you need to know that? No, you didn't. But I just haven't done that in ages. And Red Skelton, by the way, I don't know if you even know who Red Skelton is anymore. He was a big comic on TV when I was a kid. And Red Skelton sued, just like the Prophet people sued me or tried to sue me. Red Skelton tried to sue Bullwinkle J. Moose. And I actually have the video of this somewhere. But he said that Bullwinkle was stealing my voice. That's my Clemcadiddlehopper voice that you're doing for Bullwinkle. You have to cease and desist. And at that point, a lot of people don't know this, and this was before I actually started watching them. But I found clips of it when it was released on DVD later. When it first aired in prime time on ABC, between the cartoons, there was a puppet of Bullwinkle that would do little bits and read fan mail. So one week he was reading fan mail from Red Skelton, and it said, he's accusing me of sounding like Clem Cadiddlehopper. That's ridiculous. I'm now going to do my impression of Clem Cadiddlehopper. Hello, I'm Clem Cadiddlehopper. See, there's a world of difference. And Skelton dropped the suit at that point. When you're mocked by a moose puppet, you just give it up. But I always love that story, and sure that clip will make the rounds at some point. Your Honor, this is the guy who we should be worried about. Guy going doo, 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 doo. Yep. Yeah, but I'm a big threat. Anyway. All right, that's it. I don't think I can do anything else to top any of this. So I'm going to bring this broadcast day to a conclusion. Okay, you got me here. Yes, Dick Cavett did write for Red Skelton at one point. And that's it. Now I'm going. Thank you, love, Maddie. All right, everyone have a good night. I'll have something for you tomorrow, and we'll actually be able to play a video, and you'll be able to see it and hear and all that kind of stuff. All right, night.